going to make an Australian cake called a Lamington. Now I get quite a lot of requests for this. They're not difficult to make, but they are a little bit fiddly. And a lot of people don't particularly want to go to the effort of putting the time in. But if you have got the time and you are interested, then they're well worth it. Now, you can do one of two things. You can either make all elements of the Lamington from scratch, i.e. the basic cake that you use to coat in the chocolate icing, the chocolate frosting or icing, or you can make it from a ganache, and the coconut of course comes out of a packet. Or you can go and buy the cake and the icing from the supermarket and then just assemble it together. Or of course, if you don't want to make any of it, you can just go and buy the entire Lamington completely made from the supermarket as well. Now what I've done today is I've made a basic plain cake, but it can also be made from a sponge cake. And if you are comfortable making a sponge, then definitely go down that track. That makes them much more light and airy, but they are a little bit more fiddly to work with, so just be careful with that. And the ganache of course is a little bit thick as well, so I would suggest that if you're going to go down that track, make sure you have a little bit of boiling water on hand that you can pour into the ganache to thin it out so it's a little bit more runny. Otherwise you'll find it'll go too quickly, and also it'll be very gluggy to try and stick the coconut too. So let's have a look at how simple and easy it is to make and see if you can have a try at home.
To make Lamingtons, you'll need a basic plain cake or sponge cake that you've made or purchased, and some chocolate icing or frosting, or as I've made here, ganache, which is a chocolate and cream mixture. You can come back to blackbookcooking.com to see the recipe and video for making ganache. Whatever you choose, make sure it's relatively runny. And you'll need some desiccated coconut. The first thing we need to do is to cut the cake into even-sized portions, and you need to make sure each side of the portion will absorb the chocolate. So I always cut off the edges of the cake to ensure every side of every portion has an exposed cut surface. For this reason, a square cake is easiest to work with. As I mentioned earlier, you can make Lamingtons with any type of plain cake, or even chocolate cake, as some people do. To see recipes for all the different types of cakes you can use, visit the website and today's show page for links to all of them. Now cut the slab of cake into even-sized squares. You'll find this easier to do with a serrated bread knife, especially if the cake is fresh. I generally work with freshly made cake. Now just place the cake to the side and bring the ganache or icing and coconut into your workspace. Give the chocolate a good stir to make sure it's nice and runny, then take each piece of cake and dip it into the chocolate, making sure you coat every surface. Then coat it in coconut. You may need to scoop up the coconut to adhere to the parts of the chocolate so you can handle it, before continuing to coat every side. This is a messy exercise and the chocolate will firm up as it sits in the cool air. If this happens, add a little boiling water to it to thin it down. Make sure you incorporate all the water you've added.
Now even though I've thinned out my icing, as you can see it's still just a little bit thick there, so you do need to make sure you have that hot water on hand to thin it out.
You may need to replenish both the chocolate and coconut, so make sure you have plenty made. Continue with the rest of the portions of cake till all elements are used up, then refrigerate the Lamingtons for 20 to 30 minutes before serving.
Well, they're probably not as good as the cake manufacturers make, but they really are delicious, and I do say I like them because I've got ganache on there rather than just a plain old basic icing. Now you'll need to come back to the website to see how to make the ganache and also how to make the basic plain cake. The recipes are there and videos for pretty much all of those. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I hope you go out and have a little bit of a go at making Lamingtons, and of course if you decide that they're all just a bit too much for you, then I'm sure you'll find a lovely little cake shop close by that will do it for you. Thanks so much for being with me. Come back to the website blackbookcooking.com for lots more videos, all the base recipes and skills and techniques as well. And don't forget to come and connect with me on Facebook and Twitter. I will look forward to seeing you again very soon. I'm Victoria Hanson.